And hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the show tonight. Hopefully you had, like I always say, a great Monday and a great weekend. We are winding down the summer, y'all. Can you believe it? One more month. And well, actually, school has started in a lot of places. But welcome back to this episode, this transformative series that we're doing about finding balance and living life more fulfilled. Today, we're delving into the heart of it all, right? We're talking about our families because our families define us. How can we have a conversation about living in a balanced world without going back and talking about what value the family brings to us? While some people may have families that are not traditional, while some people may have grown up in families that are not biological, those families that they were in still had a part to play in how they live now, the thoughts that they have, the ideas, the dynamics of what went on when they were growing, when they were developing. This holistic being, this holistic person, this life that we are trying to design, this life that we are creating for ourselves. Yeah, it starts there. So we're going to delve into that tonight here on this episode. Welcome back. This is episode number 3 in that series. If you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwayne Wood. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. And here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health in your life. Go to the next level and create the life you've always wanted. Right? We want you to take charge. We are coming now into the last parts of this year, and this is going to be the year for us. If you're new as well, go ahead and put new in the comments because I'd love to welcome you with some music and welcome you with some hand claps. Right? Let me get back there, get those. There we go. Right. Some music and some hand claps. And if you have questions, go ahead and put those in the chat because we want to answer those questions as well. Go ahead and put a Q in front of the chat, in front of the question, so that we know that that is the question that we need to get to. Okay. So let me see what happened to my music. There you go. There you go. Get you some music and get you some hand claps. All right. So I'm glad you're here. I see some folks out there already. If you've not already done so, go ahead and get over to our YouTube channel and look at some of the things that we've got there. If you're here right now, you're at the YouTube channel and you've probably subscribed, but I'm sure there are some people who have not done so. Go ahead and do that. There's a lot of stuff that we've done. Let me pull that up really quickly. This is our YouTube channel, and so we've done some pretty impressive conversations that we've had, right? So we've talked about diabetes. We've talked about personal growth. We've talked about change in mindset, and you'll see some of those there. This first series that you're seeing, of course, that one at the top is the main one that you see when you show up on the channel, talking about the pituitary. But below it, you see Mastering Diabetes, Essential Knowledge for Beginners, right? Lots of videos in there. This next one is the series that we did on reinventing ourselves. How do we design a new version of ourselves, right? And I think there are 26 videos in both of those. Then the next one that we did earlier in the late spring, early summer, The Art of Letting Go, right? Unlocking our true potential. And just lots of other videos that we've done. We've done series on the entrepreneur, right? We use the physician as an example, but it's for everybody, right? So it's not just about being a physician, but if you have something in you that you want to get out, that is a great series for you to go back and look at. And once again, if you've not already done so, go ahead and look at those and subscribe. If you know someone who has not done so, help them as they join the community, because we love for them to do that. And so let's see, who do we got out there? So we've got Dean. What's up, Dean? Dean says, hello, Dr. Wood. Good to see you. And Dean, that's right. You are not. Dean also wrote down at the bottom. He said, I'm not old. I'm old, not new. I'm old, not new. And then we've got Florence. What's up, Florence? welcome to the show tonight. Glad that you guys are out there. So let's jump into it, right? Let's jump into it. So let me tell you guys a story. So let me pull this up first so we know what we're talking about, right? The family foundation. The family foundation is what we're discussing tonight. And I have a family of 6 siblings, right? There's 6 of us, 3 boys and 3 girls. And my dad and my mom, right? So what's that? 6, 7, 8 of us grew up in the house. And then we had grandparents and aunts and so forth that lived with us at various points in my life, in my upbringing. And there are a couple of things I want to point out. So when I come home now, right? So to my family, my wife, my son, I walk through the door, open the door, I come through the garage, and I usually say, "Hello, family." Right? I don't know where it came from. I never heard it. My dad never said that. It was just something that I started doing years ago. And one night, my son was out, and he walked in, and he said, "Hello, family." And I tell you, 2 things went through my mind, or 2 feelings. I was proud and excited, right? Because my son was emulating me. And I felt a little bit of a panic because what? My son was emulating me. Right? And there's this thing that I do. So I'm coming off of my son now. There's this thing that I do. Sometimes my wife and I are having a conversation, and it's almost like a nervous snicker or something I do. I laugh, right? So it's like I chuckle, right? And I chuckle, ha ha ha, exactly like that 3 times. And I was telling my sisters one night about it. I was talking to them on the phone, and my wife was in earshot. And so I told them what was going on, and they said, Daddy used to do that. And I was like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Yeah, exactly like that." And as I was talking to them, I didn't. They said, "Yep, that's it right there." And so as we talk about living life from the center, there are things that we do now. There are concepts, there are ideas that we have now that come directly from the people with whom we were raised, in the environment that we found ourselves. And if we're going to live life from the center, we've got to first understand the things that came from that family. And sometimes we've got to think about how do we alter, how do we adjust, how do we amplify some of the things that they've given us, right? So there are some things that are great. There are some families that taught great problem-solving skills. There are some families that taught the great ability to be resilient. And then there are some families that didn't teach those things. And so there are some cases where we got to learn how to strengthen the things that we got from family. Sometimes we've got to learn how to develop things that we didn't get from family. And sometimes we got to talk about how do we replace some of the things that we get from family. Now, those things right there, how do we live from the center? We're going to talk basically about what the family gives to us. We're going to come back later and talk about how do we go through and, as I say, replace, adjust, build, identify, and so forth, some of those things. But tonight we're going to spend time talking about the family as foundation, the family as foundation. And as we discuss the family as foundation, right, there are several things that the family brought or gave to us. We spent time over the last 2 episodes, and as I said, this is the 3rd episode. The first episode, we talked about what balance was, right? Practical steps to live from the center, right? We're trying to talk, and when I say center, remember, we're talking about how do we be balanced? We've got to understand mindfulness. So we've got to set boundaries. We've got to prioritize tasks. We've got to develop healthy routines, embrace flexibility, and we've got to build a support network, right? That was episode number 1. Episode number 2, we spent time, which was last week, talking about how do we manage our professional responsibilities without sacrificing personal life. That is, how do we find work-life balance? And so we talked about self-care, setting boundaries once again, the power of delegation, being able to say, hey, this is not something that I need to be doing. I could send that off and have somebody else do it. Time management. How do we go about doing that? And let me pause here to just say, in the blog that we did that came out last Friday, I talked about a method for time management called time blocking. So if you've not done so, go ahead to our website, Dwayne Wood MD, and read through that. And it walks you through, it describes it first, and it walks you through an example of how you go about time blocking so that you can manage your time. Okay, so make sure you do that. And then finally, in that section last week, we talked about the practice of mindfulness at work. Right, so that's where we've been so far. And this week we're talking about the family. So the family is a foundation, right? And we'll come back and talk about that here in a minute. But we've got to understand the connection between the family and how it influences what we do here. Here's an example. Okay, here's an example. And I was reading. This is not something that I've had, although I've had similar issue. But I was reading a book. It was a book about marriage and so forth, and they tell the story about this woman who was using this pan, this skillet that she'd gotten from her mother. Okay, and she was cooking a particular dish. And she used the skillet. Every time she cooked this dish, she used the skillet, right? Hey, we're having such and such. I forgot what the dish was. So she got the skillet. And something happened to the skillet. I don't know if they moved and they lost it or something happened. The husband did something to it. And so she stopped making this dish, which her husband loved, right? He loved it. And so she stopped making it. And so he asked her, he said, well, hey, why do you stop making? She said, well, I don't have the skillet anymore. And so her mom, this wife, her mother comes to visit because her husband asked her, well, can't you make it in something else? She said, no, it has to be made in this. And so so mom comes to visit and mom asked, she asked mom, hey, why did we make it in this skillet? Right? And mom says, oh, it was the only thing we had that was the size that we needed for our family. Now I want you to know this. It had nothing to do with the dish. It had nothing to do with the skillet. It was when they were making it, it was the right size. But in her mind, it was connected. The dish had to be made in this skillet. And that's the power. That's the power of the family. So tonight we're going to explore how the family shapes our identity, values, support system, and so forth. And then the family is a big, huge part of our support system, right? And so we'll discuss that as we go throughout the night. So let's pop over there, okay? So the family as a foundation. So let's run through this real quickly. So family as foundation. So the family transmits our values, right? Transmits values to us. I should say our values. They eventually become ours. But the family plays an essential role in shaping the core of who we become. They act like the initial model, right? That conveys those values, the character, the behavior. So things like transmission, and you'll see there on the screen, transmission of values. So from a very young age, our family members are often the ones that introduce us to certain basic principles of morals, and then they guide us as we develop those ideas. Sometimes it is an active thing that they do. So they sit you down and, we go to church and our family believes this, and they begin teaching those. But in a lot of cases, right, kids learn what they see. We may tell them one thing, right, but they catch what they see. So some of it is things that they just picked up, kind of like my son, right? I never taught him to say, hey, family. And my dad never taught me this little thing that he does, right? This little nervous thing that he does, but I picked it up because I saw it, I watched him, and I wasn't deliberately trying to get it. And my son wasn't deliberately trying to get that, but in his mind, hey, that's what happens. That's what we do. So our families transmit values to us. They help us develop our values, our value system. So as we are now interacting with the world, we interact with the world the way our families taught us, whether actively teaching or passively teaching, how our families taught us how to interact with the world. So living a balanced life means that we are using those things, or we're learning how to harness the positives, and how do we minimize the negative things that we picked up from our families, because we pick up both, right? Yeah. So transmission of values. Also, they shape our character and our personalities. Our personalities reflect the people that were in our house. How we handle different situations. How we express emotions. How we relate to other people. The attachment of bonding, the bonding that we developed with our family, is how we bond with people that we're meeting in our lives. And that family relationship can greatly affect how we do that. If you saw your family out and very gregarious, and they were always around people and they never met a stranger, then you begin to develop that kind of personality, that part of your of who you are. Now, your personal bent comes in there, and there's an interplay between what you see with the family and just basically how you are as a person. But a lot of it is influenced by the family. And you may have seen or may know people where their personal bent, the way they are designed, the way they are crafted is a certain way. But because they're in a particular family, the family has pulled them or pushed them or taught them, right, or emulated to them how to be in the public eye. But that's not their natural inclination. So I'll tell you, for me, I love being in a crowd, right, if I'm up front. That's my bent. That's my personality, right? You give me a mic and you put me in front of 100 people, whatever number of people, and I'm good, right? And you give me my notes and I could present that. I love it. And on a one-to-one, that is less my personality. But when people see me, they think I am a gregarious. They think I love being out with a person, but I'm much more comfortable being up front, right? So that intimate togetherness, right, is not my personal bent, but I've learned by what I do, because of what I do, I've learned how to do that. So when I talk to patients, when I talk to clients, right, that is something that I have had to learn how to do. And it's been something I've learned to do a long time, because people have always been pushing me to be in that space. Okay. So there are things about us that come directly from our family. There are things about us that are our personal design, and the interplay of them is what we see and what people see when they look at us. Yeah. Okay. So transmission of values, shaping our character and our personality. And the other thing that we from family, it influences our behavior. We often emulate behaviors and habits that we observe in the family, especially during our formative years, right? Our young years, as we're developing, as we're growing. The way our parents, our siblings, our caregivers, the way they act, the way they communicate, words that they say, how they solve problems, or even how they eat and dress. Right? I like the foods that my dad liked. I try to cook the foods that my dad cooked. Right? And those patterns become embedded in us. And we take that as our own behavior. So family, how people react around a certain type of situation, conflict resolution, right? How we communicate. All of that is affected and shaped by the relationships and the interactions that we have with our family. And ultimately, now that we are older, those same things come out in how we interact with people. And sometimes we wonder, hey, why did I do that? How did I do that? If you're in the chat, go ahead and put, can you identify anything that you know? Okay, this is how my mom did it. My uncle, my cousin, my brother, my sister, my dad. If you have identified anything like that, put yes in the chat. Yeah, put yes in the chat. And then the family is our cultural and our social lens. Family, they act as our cultural and social lens. What does that mean? So the family is, it acts like a microcosm of the larger culture, right? So the people that we see in our families are the people that we imagine are in society. And our family members, they have ideas and concepts. They behave in ways that are a reflection of how they were raised from their family of origins, how their society behaved, things that they've learned, things that they have corrected, things that they've enhanced that they got from their family. And so now, as we are growing in that space, it is a representation of all the things that have happened to that person, to that mother, to that father, to that brother, to that sister. The heritages that we have, the traditions that we develop. Now we are trying to, in our family, develop some traditions, right? We are, we take a trip to the beach every year. And so that's what we've done. And now we've invited other people to join us because that's our thing. That's the way that's a tradition that we have. When I was growing up, we had people at our house all the time. Right? We fed people. We had lunches. We had dinners. We had all these things. And it came directly from how my family worked. That's what we did. We ate. Right? My grandfather made bread. My dad was an awesome cook, so he made things, and yeah. He's passed away now, and so now we are trying to recreate some of those things. Right? I wish we had him write some of it down, but if you've not done that, talk to your talk to your parents, your family, and so forth, and get them to write some of those recipes down. Because, when you're trying to do it later on, like there's this one dish that he cooked that my dad used to cook, and I'm almost there, y'all, almost there. It's like there was one thing, I don't know what it is, but it's right there. I almost got it. So our families act as our lens into the culture and into the society We see things, we behave in ways that our families taught us, or like I said, we caught from them. And then the family is a support system. It's a support system, and it is the source of our very first role models. The environment that we have, that we grow into in the family, it allows us to explore. It should allow us to fail, to learn, right? So we tried something, it didn't work. We come back, our personalities, and within the confines of the family, and I've got a teenager now in our house, right? As in the confines of the family, the teenager gets to expand. He gets to bounce against walls, bounce against thoughts and ideas as he now develops his own thoughts and ideas based on the things that we've taught and the things that we monitor or model with him. Right? So the family often serves as role models, as guides, so that as my young man in my house is growing, right, there are things that he's going to try that are things that we've taught him, and we get to say, okay, yes, you got most of it, but here's another piece that we need to add, or there's another piece we need to subtract, or that wasn't quite the thought that we had, right? So now he's developing and he's exploring the world, and that's the support system that the family provides. And then as a man, I get to model, I get to be a role model for him. I get to exemplify the things that I want him to learn, the way I want him to be as a man, right? The kind of father he's going to be is going to be largely influenced by the kind of father I am. And that's why I told you when he came home that night and he says, "Hello, family," I was excited. And I was like, oh my goodness, he's watching. He's watching. Am I doing the things, right, that I want him to emulate? Am I doing the things that I want him to see? And that's an amazing thing. So the family, once again, serves as our foundation. It serves as that thing that that keeps us grounded, keeps us centered. If not for the family, then a lot of things that happen in our lives, right, we wouldn't have a basis for that. So just as the foundation of a house, right, supports the structure, right, the family serves as that foundation. And on the things that come out of the family, the values, the character traits, the behaviors, all the other things are built on top of that. And if the foundation is strong, it enables us to build resilience, authenticity. If it's weak, if it's fractured, it can lead to difficulty as we grow. So if you are out there now and you are a family, if you are part of the support system, if you're a mom or dad, uncle, cousin, whatever, an older brother, older sister, remember that the younger ones are looking at you. They're watching. And there are some things that they're going to catch, but there are some things that you've got to be deliberate about teaching. What do you want your young person to leave your house with? What do you want them to leave the house with? What character traits? What abilities? What tools? Do you want them to be able to handle? Do you want them to be able to handle conflicts? Do you want them to know how to do conflict resolution, how to make decisions, right? Those are the things that we want our children to have. How do you want them to approach relationships? So all of that comes from the family. Once again, the family as that base, as that foundation that we have, right? So the family nurtures both our emotional and it nurtures our emotions, and it helps to guide us. It helps to mentor us. The primary source of our emotional support comes a lot of times from the family. right? They offer understanding. They allow us to be in the space of our emotions. They hold space for us, as we say in when we're working with clients. Let me hold space for you. What does that mean? That means let me allow you to have that emotion. Let me allow you to process that emotion without suppressing it, without squashing it. Because a lot of times, we'll have people who are dealing with emotion, and we'll say to them, "Oh, you need to stop that. That wasn't that important. You don't need to cry. Don't be mad. Don't be upset." That's not holding space, right? Holding space means, okay, here is a space where you can come and you can process, you can express that emotion. And sometimes I may be able to help you deal with it, but I don't have to have the capacity. I don't have to have the tools to help you go through the emotion. I've just got to be able to allow you space to deal with and see and feel the emotion. Sometimes as adults and sometimes as humans, we want to have the answer. So someone comes to us with a feeling, with an emotion, with some problem, and we feel we have to solve it. And sometimes, that's appropriate, right? If you're a parent and the kid has a problem, or aunt, or uncle, whoever the caregiver is. But sometimes just allowing the person to express the emotion and process it is great. And then, of course, guidance and mentorship. Right? For whether it's a parent, a grandparent, a sibling, an uncle, aunt, right? They allow or they provide guidance. They share wisdom. They share insights. They share life experiences. So I've recently started, well, not recently, but I've shared stories with my son. And I was telling him about something the other day. And he said, "Oh, was that time when you blah, blah, blah," right? I didn't remember I had told him about that. Right? So practical advice. And let me pause here to say this guidance-ship and this mentorship. I came up in an era where we were, well, the adults in our life were probably taught not to show that they were not perfect. I don't think they deliberately did, but they didn't want it. They thought that if they told us things that they did, it would have caused us to go down that road. And that is one thought. But allowing our children, allowing the people that we are mentoring, allowing the people that we are the guardians of, allowing the people that we are interacting with to know that we're not perfect, allows them to be able to say when they make a mistake that the world is not ending. Come on. Yep. I forgot how old my son was. This was years ago. And I was telling him something, and he said, "Daddy, I'm not perfect like you." And I think that was when I started telling him the stories. Started telling him the stories about me. Okay? So we don't have to be perfect. We have to be able to guide. We have to be able to, yeah. All right. So there are some things that I want specifically for us to discuss when we talk about personal growth through our family interactions, interactions. And there are 4 concepts that I want us to talk about. But let's take a break right here, and let's remind you, if you are out there, that please give us a thumbs up if you're liking the discussion that we're having. Florence says yes, and I think she's responding to, have you identified things in yourself that these are things that come from my family? Florence, I know I got a lot of stuff. Sometimes, it's funny. Sometimes I walk by the mirror and I catch a glimpse of myself, or I'm doing something and I catch, I'm doing some work at the house or moving some things, and I catch myself in emotion, and I think to myself, man, that's my dad right there. Right. And sometimes I watch my son and I say, yep, that's me. That's me right there. All right. So once again, please go ahead, and if you've not already done so, go ahead and give us a thumbs up for this episode. And if you've not done so, go ahead and subscribe. Let us know that you are out there. You can find us actually on all of our social media platforms. And let me see if I can pull that up there real quick. There we are. Okay, you should see that coming up at the bottom. All of our social media platforms is Dwayne Wood MD. Okay, so Dwayne Wood MD, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, and of course here on YouTube, you can find us here as well. If you want to send us an email, it's coach or info at DwayneWoodMD.com. Coach or info at DwayneWoodMD.com. I have been talking over the last couple of months about something that I've been working on, and I want to say that it's here. It's almost here. We've got a little bit more tweaking to do, but I want you to keep an eye out. And it is back in the spring, we did a program called Sugar Busters. And I want you to know that we've done some good things with that, and it's about to come to you, right? So pay attention to that. It'll be on our website. You start seeing us rolling out the information on our social media, on our shorts, on a lot of the places that you may find us, on the same places you see there at the end of the screen, Dwayne Wood MD. Okay, so make sure that you are paying attention and that you avail yourself of that. Love it. Get to our website, Dwayne Wood MD, and you'll find out lots of additional information. And you know, I was so excited. I was on a show recently with RK3 and some other people, Tatiana, if you guys remember, on Tanya Smith's show, and also JP High Tech. And I learned how to do some things. So here's my little guy that's dancing. I need to play some music for him so he can, but you know, there you go. But we are coming up now that I've done those done the little streamers there. What are those called? You know, the falling things. Yeah. Anyway, the gold things. We are coming up, y'all, on 3 years for the channel. That's going to be next week, and so come by. This is going to be next week. We'll put out some information, and we'll be going live. It's going to be a special show next week to celebrate our 3-year anniversary. So we started the channel on the 4th of August, but we went live our first show, and I'll tell you all about that next week. But anyway, so thank you for being here with us. Thank you for hanging out. And there's me saying yes. All right, there we go. All right, so back to what we're talking about. So we're talking about the family, right? The family as the foundation. The family as the foundation. And there are 3 things that I want to talk about that we will see and that we get from our families. There are three things that I want to talk about. So remember, the family interactions are much more than just social exchanges, right? They significantly shape our personality, personal growth. And so I want to share 3 things, right? One is self-awareness. So our families help us with self-awareness. So interactions with the family, they serve as a mirror. So we reflect, or it reflects to us our true selves. Family members see us, and they know us at our best and our worst. They give us feedback, whether it's direct or subtle, right? And that allows us to make more changes and become aware of the strengths and become aware of our weaknesses. So our families allow us to have some awareness of who we are and the things that we're good at and the things that we need to work on. And as I said before, it as we're teaching things and as they see us, we get to help smooth some things up. Say, hey, man, this particular thing that I see you doing, or this particular way that I see about you, let's see if we could change that. Right? So a brother or sister or cousin or somebody may point out a pattern of behavior that the person may not have noticed. And that can lead the person to reflect, to grow, to change. Right? So self-awareness, it is a mirror. The family is a mirror for us. The other thing that we see from the family, let's get back over there. The other thing that we see from the family is empathy. So empathy. Living and interacting with family teaches us how to understand and share feelings. We witness their struggles, their joys, their pain, and we learn, right, to put ourselves in their shoes. So comforting a family member through a tough time teaches compassion and empathy. And these are qualities that are translatable into other relationships of life. Remember what we're talking about. How do we live a balanced life? So all these things that we're talking about are things that we are not going to be bringing into the world. And as we learn them from our family, then we get better. Also resilience. So the family faces challenges together. Financial hardships, maybe some health challenges, some emotional turmoil. Working through these challenges foster resilience. It teaches us how to bounce back. And if our families taught us well, then we come into the world with a skill that is so, so important. And you've seen this resilience probably in a lot of the things that we've talked about. Because remember what I said, it doesn't matter what you are trying to change, what you're trying to improve, what you're trying to correct. There are some basic principles that are going to be, it's ubiquitous. It's in everything. And resilience is one of those, right? Overcoming crises together can teach resilience and the power of collective strength. Remember, the family is our support system. It is the place where we can come and we can be ourselves. I was going to say another word. Come and we can be ourselves. All right. And then this other thought that I want you to have is this. Okay. So not only are we having self-awareness, empathy, and resilience, but there is a symbiotic relationship. The family is the first place that we find that we're in a symbiotic relationship. So the family is affecting us. They're teaching us. They're molding us. They're helping us grow and they're helping us develop. And as we grow and develop and as we mold and as we get better and as we have thoughts and ideas, we now begin influencing the family. And then the family turns around and influences us again. So there's this feedback loop. So in essence, the family acts as this miniature society, right? This miniature society that we learn from, that we navigate through, that we deal with these complex human emotions and relationships in this safe space. And then we now turn back and as we grow and develop, we're influencing and creating a safe space. And so the family has this thing that's feeding back on us. Beautiful. I love it. That's the beauty of it. Okay. So self-awareness, empathy, resilience, and it's a symbiotic relationship. Okay. And then as we talk about the family, here are some tips that I want to share for balancing family time with personal pursuits. Because as we are growing, as we're developing now, right, we are going to require more understanding, and sometimes we'll spend some time away from family, right? So number one, we want you to learn how to allocate quality time for family without sacrificing your personal goals. Allocate quality time without sacrificing your personal goals. I tell my team at work that when they are having a productive, exciting life, when they're doing well in their personal life, I benefit. We benefit. Our team at work benefits. Our practice benefits. So sometimes people ask me, well, why do you ask us about our lives? Why you ask us what we did this weekend? Because I want to share with that. I want to be able to share. I want to be able to speak into that. I want to know how things are going in your personal life. Because when it goes well, then when you show up at work, come on now, right? We reap the benefits of what's going on in the family. Yeah. And so being able to deal with the family well, allocating time for them is great, but you got to also be sure that you are allocating time for yourself, because as you are developing, as you are getting excited, as you are working and growing and developing and improving, when you now show up in the family, you bring all that richness, all that benefit, all of the things you've learned to the family. But if you're not doing that, then you're resentful. You're not growing, you're not developing, you're not bringing any benefit to the family. Right? So make sure that you're allocating the time for the family. The other thing is incorporating the family into your growth journey. Sometimes we try to grow and we kind of leave the family behind us. If you're developing and there are people who will come along with you, come on, let's do it. Explore creative ways to involve the family. Because as you transform yourself, as you transform you're transforming them, and ultimately you're transforming your support system. Now, I'll tell you, that's what we want. There are going to be some people who don't want to go along with you. There are some people who they are not ready. They're not in the space. They're not able to see, right? And that's okay. That's okay. That's a lesson that I'm learning right now. That it's okay if there are people in your life that don't want to come right now. There's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing that you've got to fix, right? Sometimes we become so intertwined. Well, not intertwined. We become so insistent that we got to bring this person with us, that they got to change their thought process, that sometimes we fracture that relationship. Right? So if somebody's in your life and they don't see where you're going right now, hey, the other people that are seeing it, let's do it. And then we've got to learn how to set boundaries, y'all. Set boundaries with love. With love. We think that boundaries are bad. We think that boundaries are bad. I want you to go back and I want you to look at the show that I did. I think 2 shows ago about setting boundaries, and then I did a clip. I clipped it out from the show and I posted it last week about setting boundaries. I think it was last week. I'll put the link. Boundaries are not bad. Boundaries allow people to work together. Now I'll tell you, and I'm gonna. There's a person in my life who likes details, and I used to resent that. Right? Because I'm like, whoa, I don't know the details. But I'm learning that details allow for efficiency. Details decrease confusion, and boundaries allows people to work together and grow together without causing interpersonal problems. So sometimes we don't want to tell mom or dad or cousin or brother or sister something because we think it's going to hurt their feelings. And once again, this is one that I'm learning, y'all. I'm in the process. I've not arrived. I'm not there. I'm still learning how to set boundaries. I'm still learning that it's better to say something, right, and establish the boundary than to allow it to fester, and now you get you're very resentful, and yeah. So in the process of learning this, so come on, let's learn it. Let's learn it together, right? Let's learn it together. So boundaries, so. How many so's did I say? So important. Okay. So make sure that you are not falling into, and those are kind of obstacles, right? So overcoming those potential obstacles. I think that's what that slide was called. Tips to balance family time with personal pursuits, and then overcoming potential obstacles, right? So how do we, because there are things that are going to come up. So we want to be able to navigate conflicts and expectations. Family life, y'all, is not always smooth. It's not. There can be mismatched expectations. Right? Mismatched expectations. How do you keep growing? How do you keep on your track? How do you keep in this process amidst issues that are going on in the family? Because as you're growing and developing, other people may be growing and developing. And so we're changing, right? And as we're all changing, we can now unintentionally or sometimes intentionally cross those boundaries, cross those, we get into some argument. So number one, navigating conflict and expectations. Be honest. Okay, this is what I'm expecting. This is what I want. Once again, things that I am implementing in my life. Yeah. And then this one, this is coming, right? Self-care amidst family responsibilities. Making sure that you're taking care of yourself in the middle of all the things that you've got to do as it relates to the family. Because if you don't do that, you can become mentally, emotionally, physically ill. And then communication and mutual respect. You have got to be able to express yourself. And that's another, let me get back over here. That's another thing that we probably should do a show on, right? How do you express yourself? How do you do conflict resolution? Because people are not mind readers. Right? Learn how to effectively communicate. In our series on designing a new you, right? There's a section, or one of the videos that we did, one of the episodes is on communication. How do we minimize conflict? How do we set boundaries? How do we say no without feeling guilty? And we've got to understand that we've got to have mutual respect for the people around us and people in our families. And those are potential ways to deal with potential obstacles, because they're coming, right? If you know that they're coming, if the conflicts are coming, go ahead and put yes. Put yes in the comments, because they're coming. All right, let's see. I see Mr. Stacy. What's up, dude? Thanks for coming through. He said, keep it moving. That's right. If somebody don't want to come along, let's keep going. Let's keep going. He said, how do you overcome obstacles that are putting your way in the midst of your growth? How do you overcome obstacles that are put in your way? I'm assuming is what you meant. in the midst of your growth? Well, one of the things, well, first of all, obstacles are going to come, like we just said, right? They're coming. And often one of the things that happens is that we don't anticipate obstacles coming. Right. So that's the first thing. So we think, hey, we're going to make this big change. We're going to have this tremendous growth, which is great. And we've got this vision, but we don't anticipate, hey, somebody, something, somehow, some way is going to pop. So first of all, we've got to anticipate it, because if we don't anticipate it, it's going to throw us. And then we have to have thought, what am I going to do when that obstacle comes? And you may not know what it is. If there's a delay in what I want to do, what do I do? If someone who's going along with me decides they don't want to go as fast, what am I going to do? If this thing that I decide I want to do and I'm almost there, and then I decide, hey, man, that's not what I want to do after all, what do I do at that point? Am I able to pivot? So coming up with those strategies ahead of time is another thing that we want to do. And then remember that our goal, the things that we're doing, are things that take time. And so perhaps we need to slow down a little bit. We need to pivot. We need to use a different approach. Right? So all those things are things that we need to build in at the front end, so that when it does show up, it doesn't throw us, and we have a partial strategy, because once again, we won't know all the things that are going to come. So we can't come up with a contingency for everything, but also understanding what do you do? How do I dial back what I need to do? And then the big thing is what we're talking about right now. You've got to have a community around you. You got to have a group of people that will speak into you. And I told the story, I think last week or the week before, about when I had difficulty in medical school. I was ready to leave. I was ready to stop. And I said to a friend of ours, older friend of ours, he's passed away now. And I said to him, I said, man, Doc, I don't think I can do this. I think I'm done. And he said to me, Dr. Wood, you can do this. Dr. Wood, you can do this. And he never again, when he spoke to me, I don't know if when he talked to other people, he never again said to me, he never called me Dwayne again. Every time he saw me, it was Dr. Wood. Dr. Wood. So this was an example of this man speaking into me his expectation that I was going to succeed. He was talking to me as though I've already succeeded. And you've got to have people around you that when your vision is dim, and be honest, right? Even though you have the best vision and you got all the plans, there are going to be some times when you wake up one day and you're like, man, I don't see how this thing's going to work out anymore. And on that day, you need that community that's going to say, come on, nah, we doing this. We're carrying you through, right? Until you see it again, because we caught it with you and we know you can do this. So that's how you do it. That's how you make it in the midst of all of that. But yeah, I love it. This is, man, I love this stuff. We could talk forever, but I know I got to let you guys go. But this is a great place for us to do our thought of the day. So let's hop over and let's do that right now. Our thought is this: embracing the root of your family allows you to branch out and live in a balanced way. There are some things in our families that we would much rather forget. There are some things that have been done to us There have been some emotional scars. There has been some physical damage that has been done through our family of origin and through our families that we grew up with in our formative years, because all of us didn't grow up with our family of origin. But that does not define you. Remember, we take from that situation the things that are good, that are going to help us expand and grow and develop and get better. And all the other stuff has to go away. Because as long as we don't embrace it, as long as we fight with it, so much energy is being expended in that space that we can be using for something else. We did a series on letting go. There are some things, there are some thoughts, there are some feelings, there are some behaviors that come to us from those families. And those things we got to let go, because if we don't, it's going to be detrimental to us right now. It's going to be detrimental to us as we develop. And you know what? When we are the family for someone else, those same things that we've not dealt with, that we've not come to grips with, that we've not faced, those same things come back and it gets passed on to the next generation. So the roots, our family of origin, our developing family, our family from our formative years, however we call it, those things we've got to deal with. We got to face them, and we've got to work through them. You may need someone to help you do that, a counselor, a pastor, a coach. Make sure you reach out and make sure you identify someone if you need that help. But you got to do it, because we're creating the life we've always wanted. And in order to do that, we're not allowing things to happen to us anymore. We're taking charge and we're going to the next level. And that's our thought for today. All right. Yes. I have enjoyed this episode today. I enjoy all of them. I just have fun being here with you. Remember to head over to our YouTube channel, where head over to and take a look at all the things that we have done out there. Let me pull that up again, so we can see those. Let's see. Here we are. Okay. Remember to head over there. We've got lots of things that are going on. And you don't want to miss them. We're always adding new and exciting things. So the power of a positive mindset is one of the ones we did. And you see that's the one at the top of the screen right there. We also did, back in November or back in December of last year, remember we did our Vlogmas series where we had probably about 23, 24 guests on, one each day, to talk about where they are in their space. Okay. And that was in preparation as we came into the new year, 2023. We've got 5 months, actually less than 5. We got 4 months and a couple weeks to do the things that we said that we're going to do at the beginning of this year. But 2023 is our year that we are taking charge. We're not allowing things to happen to us anymore. That's behind us. This is going to be the time that we take hold of it. Is it going to be tough? Some of it's going to be tough, right? And we take one step forward, maybe 2 steps back, but we're doing it, right? So we're coming into the last quarter of this year. And the success that we're going to have next year, at the beginning of the year, the first quarter of next year, that success begins during this quarter. Okay, so we are finalizing the things that we wanted for this year, and we're going to talk more about that as we get into the next quarter. We're finalizing the things we wanted to do for this year, and we are now looking forward. Okay, what is going to be our thing? What growth are we going to do next year? Now, I've had some people ask me, it's like, why are you always talking about growth and changing? Why? Just be satisfied. I'm going to tell you, no. Right? So I'm not going to be satisfied. I'm always wanting to be a better person. I always wanted to do better. I always wanted to learn. And that is where we are. All right? We're creating the life we want. And be sure also to get over to our website. Get over to my website. Let's pull that up. All right, so Dwayne Wood MD, and you can find our blog there. As I said, make sure you get over there and look at this one on time blocking, the one that we posted last Friday, and the blog comes out every Friday, by the way. All right, so the one on time blocking 101, how to organize your time. That's a very good one to do, but we have lots of things on there. Mindset, the connection between mindset and body. Here's the blog that we did on boundaries, the defining step of life. Okay. Fear, from fear to fuel, harnessing the power of fear. So lots of things out there on the blog. If you know someone who does not do YouTube, that's okay, because our podcast is out there as well. It's called Do You Know with Dr. Dwayne Wood. Do You Know with Dr. Dwayne Wood. And we do some editing and we post the show here, the show from this live that we do. We post it there on our podcast. If you would like to work with me personally, if you are finding yourself in those spaces where you have things that you need to let go of, things that you need to have a change in your mindset. If you're frustrated with where you are, you're not sure what you need to do, but you know the space that you're in right now is not the space you want to be in, then I recommend that you come on over, get to the website, sign up for sign up to have me work with you so that we can get you unstuck. Remember, we are taking charge of our lives. Right? Make sure you do that. Get over to the website and then come on back next week, because we are going to have another episode of our show. Now, next week, we'll likely have a recorded episode. I'm going to be hanging out with some family this weekend and probably won't be back in time to do the show. So we'll have a recorded episode, but it's going to be on fire, y'all. So make sure that you are here. Make sure you come back and make sure you tell somebody else that we are here. This is Dr. Dwayne Wood. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health, take charge of your life, avoid complications, go to the next level, and create the life you've always wanted. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next week.